we'll talk about Malcolm for a minute, but like, were you shocked? When did you know that this was a huge show? What moment do you remember going, oh shit?
To be honest, I would say before the show premiered, we were still living in New York City at the time because we had only gone to LA to film basically the pilot, or we then did 13 episodes before the show actually premiered. So my mom and I went back to New York, New Jersey, and we're going into the city, still doing auditions, still doing stuff. And there were billboards everywhere for it. And I remember being on the subway and everyone was staring at me. And I remember going to my mom, like, Mom, why is everyone staring at me? And finally someone came up and they go, you're going to be on that show. I saw the advertisement. I saw the poster. I saw the thing. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. People know before it's even come out. That's awesome. I remember the show premiered and 21 million people tuned in to the first episode.
And then, and then 26 million the next week.
Yeah, or like they re-aired it on Wednesday, like on a whim. Like, whoa, we didn't know it was going to be so big. They re-aired it on a Wednesday. And yeah, like 26 million people tuned in. And at that moment, you go, oh my God, people loved it. But then obviously you still don't know what's going to happen, right? Are people going to continue to watch or whatever? And it's just a pretty wild thing. I mean, you know the process, right? Of auditioning, maybe getting a pilot, being so thrilled to get the pilot, right? And you're going to go in and you do a good job. And you know that, back in the day of the 200 pilots made, 7 or 10 get picked up.
Oh, man.
And of that, maybe 2 make it as a show. So when you get the call that the show got picked up, you're literally doing somersaults. So excited. But even at that point, you have no idea if anyone's even going to see it. So you film some episodes and you pray and you hope that people are going to watch it and like it. And when that happens, like, it's like every step of the way is like this huge win. Or for other people, it's the opposite, right? It could be, you think everyone's going to love it and no one watches it and it's a huge upset.
Yeah. Honestly, gun to your head. When you're working with Bryan Cranston, did you think this guy's going to be a big star? I mean, he's already in his 40s or whatever. Did you think there's something he's so talented that Breaking Bad's going to happen? And were you shocked when you saw it?
2 things I'll say. When anyone ever asks what it was like to work with him, I always say he was the most incredible person because he showed up every day to set and gave it 150%. He was so nice to everybody, and you never, ever, ever saw him wanting to leave or not wanting to, like tired or like he took advantage of that opportunity and he did his best work. So I've always used that as an inspiration. Like, I want what I say about Bryan of how he was to work with, I want people to say that about me. You know what I mean? So when I have an opportunity, I commit myself to it fully and I try to make everyone around me have a great time and, be a great experience for everybody. That said, I watched Malcolm in the Middle for the first time, basically 10 years after it ended, maybe 2016, 2017. My wife had never seen it. And I hadn't really seen the episodes either, right? Because I didn't turn it on when it was on, like you film it and maybe I'd seen a few of it, but we watched all 151 episodes. And wow. My perspective of what this show was completely changed. Like what the show that I thought we made compared to what actually was made, it was wild to me. Even characters that I didn't necessarily like when we were filming were my favorite. Bryan was the show to me. Like he made the show so good because he was just hilarious and, just an amazing character. The character of Reese. When we filmed the show, I hated Reese. Maybe because Malcolm had to hate Reese, but I hated him. But I watched the show and I go, the funniest parts of that whole show are Reese. You know what I mean?
That's
so like, it's a weird thought.
Man, that's cool.
Like to step back and watch as a viewer because I was so far removed from it that I don't remember what was going to happen.
I did the same thing. We have a Smallville rewatch podcast. I never watched the episodes and now I'm watching going, God, they're great. That's great. Oh, that,
yeah,
it's
right.
great,
So I don't know. I think that it's pretty cool to have a look back now. And I know there's been a lot of talks and there's been a lot of shows that have been remade. There's a lot of talks about, potentially doing something.
Would you do it?
With Malcolm? And I would love it just because I would love to work with everybody again with my newfound passion and everything that I feel now as as a grown up that I could bring to a project. I would love to work with everybody again in a new light.
Favorite memory during Malcolm in the Middle?
So, favorite memory, honestly, was the last shot that we filmed, and only because I remember being sad that the show was ending, right? But also excited because I was ready for whatever the future was going to have to hold. And at that point, I knew I was going to go racing and all that. And it didn't really hit me during the last episode until the last shot they saved for me. It was a close up of me for this crazy scene where we're all covered in this shit. I don't know how to explain it. And I'm mad at my parents because they made me turn down this $1 million job because they're like, no, you're going to go to college and you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to pay the bills. You have to work 3, jobs, and you're going to do this, and you're going to learn what it's like to be a true middle-class person, and you're going to be the president of the United States. And it's a super emotional scene. We've been filming it all day. And if you've ever been like covered in like fake blood or gunk, you're just ready to get out of it. You know what I mean? And we're on the set. Sorry, this is a long story. But we're on the set, and I look around, and it's about to be my close-up, and there's 500 people there. It's all cast and crew who worked on the show over the 7 years. And they said action, and it like I could barely even speak. And I did one take, and we never did one take. We did a lot of takes. We did a lot of stuff. But I did one take, and the emotion was so intense. They were like, print it, check the gate. That's a wrap. And it was like the most emotional moment of my life because like that was my family for 7 years. Like I was with them way more than I was with my family. And all of a sudden in an instant, it's over. So it's a good memory, but also like a sad memory, but definitely the craziest memory.
That's crazy, man. When you and your wife were watching all 100 and whatever episodes, on the last episode, when you watched it, did you remember that? Did you get a little emotional thinking back at all of it?
I did. I actually I cried during the last episode. Like I was sad that it was done. Like this is 10, 11 years after the show ended. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I got to watch it as a viewer and like remove myself from it. And I really loved it. So I'm grateful to have been a part of something that did have an impact on people's lives. You know what I mean? And people still to this day love and yeah, it's a wild thought, and it also comes with like getting older. When you're younger and you're doing something like a show or you're doing whatever, it just becomes part of your life. It becomes normal, right? To where when I look back now and I go like, that's insane that I was a part of something like that.
Dude, I think the same thing. Like watching Smallville for the first time, like I have such an appreciation now and I'm so much more grateful. And fans laugh because sometimes I shit on the show and go, oh, that was crap or that was it. But like, I'm very honest. But like overall, I'm like, hey, man, you did something really cool. And if that's it, if that was it, then wow, that's enough.
Yeah.